Welcome back to Florida, the voice of college football live here. And this is a fun segment here. And you know what? I'm just going to jump straight into it. Tyler, worst player on the team. What's your superlative?
Ooh. I wanted to give an answer, but I wanted to give a funny answer, but that's too mean. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do that.
I'll say Jack Piber.
Yeah, there you go.
That was my answer until the
Yeah,
Mississippi State game last year.
Jakeem Jackson. Yeah, one of the guys
Yeah.
who left.
Yeah, just all the guys who left are the worst players. They all kind of suck there. But no, we got some actual topics here to talk about. Obviously, we're going to have MVP, our offensive and defensive players of the year, freshman, transfer, surprise, most improved, most important game. Which one do you want to start with here, Tyler?
I don't know. I feel do you think we should save MVP and then the offensive and defensive players of the year? Should we save that for last?
That's what I was thinking. MVP at least last.
So maybe let's start with just looking at the list you sent me. You want to start with freshmen and go down?
Yeah, let's start with freshmen. I like that pick. You can go first for freshmen.
Okay, I'll lead the way here. Okay, so this one, I can lead the way here. I kind of had two in my mind that I was almost completely 50-50 on. I was going to let you take the lead and just do the kind of counterpoint for the other one, if you hit the one you didn't pick, but we can just kind of reverse roles.
That's what I'm doing here.
Because I assume that's kind of where you're at too. So I'll go with I might steal your thunder a little bit here. I think it's Jaden Woods.
No, that's the one I wanted.
I mean, we can swap if you want. I can do the other one. I think we all know who the other one is. Yeah, I mean Jaden Woods,
TJ Dice got it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to steal your spot. I think we all know what the other one is. But I think the thing with Jaden Woods here is just I think I could see it's easier for me to see him being the most impactful freshman. I think literally in terms of who is the freshman who is most valuable, providing the most value on the field this year, I think there's a good chance it ends up being Jaden Woods. I mean, he is, Florida is talented when it comes to, rushing off the edge. So, maybe he doesn't see a major role, but man, just everything we're hearing about him is so positive. It's an area where we've seen guys can be pretty early impact in the SEC. I don't know. That's kind of where my money would be, but I could be just as easily convinced with who I'm pretty sure you're about to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Woods, someone I was high on when we first got him, someone that no one really expected Florida to land. It kind of happened, one that was kind of out of nowhere, kind of like David Gross just was. But no, Jaden Woods is a great pick. It's just playing time that's going to be the factor there with George Gums and, LG McCray if he's healthy, and then, Sapp on the F. So many really good players there that he could get lost. I don't know, though, because there was the recent yesterday's scrimmage, and McCray obviously didn't participate, but Gums had 3 sacks. Then it was also reported that Woods had a TFL, a strip sack, and an interception. So he had himself a really good day as well. So much talent on the edge, and it's just everything we're hearing is too positive for Jaden Woods to not have a really good season here, especially in these tune-up games against LIU and USF. By some other freshmen. Other names I've considered, Ben Hanks. Heard he's really gotten better over the spring and now the fall camp. Yeah. But I like our corner room. I think he could be the 4th corner. And Moore is going to be starting, but, how long can he stay healthy is the question. And Dijon I really like, and I think he's going to be a good player. And then, don't want to get too sidetracked here, but Kermani McLean, recent pictures showing him, his growth. I expect him to be corner 3, and now with all this happening, I could see him contending for that starting spot with Dijon and more with what happens there. But I'm not going to pick Hanks because there's too much there, and Hayward as well, someone who's also improved. And then it's really down to 2 names. It's Dallas Wilson or Vernell Brown. I think the Dallas Wilson injury comes at a poor time right before the season starts and middle of fall camp to the end of it now. But I think he is a safer bet with the fact that Vernell Brown is in a higher stacked position. And, that's not saying we're bad out wide. We still got J. Michael Mizell can play out there. Trey can still even go out there. And you got the freshman and Nashawn and Muiz. But Dallas Wilson's going to get playing time this year. And it's just so many guys that you play on the outside, and he's going to be one of them. And it could be Vernell because there's been really good things about Vernell Brown the past couple weeks, but with Trey, with Tank, with Abrams, with Mizell, I could see him not getting as much playing time as Dallas Wilson will get. So I'll go with the secondary option here,
Yeah.
unless he ends up being the better option, Dallas Wilson.
Yeah. I think Dallas, I mean, I agree with all that. That's why this was really like a truly 1A, 1B situation in my mind. I think the main reason I ended up going with Woods is, first of all, I mean, yeah, the injury is not great. I think, DJ has not been really throwing with Dallas Wilson, so they haven't developed that chemistry as much as DJ
That's
has
true.
with like Trey Wilson and Aiden Mizell and those guys. So that's part of it. And then just also, like, again, I do think Florida has talent at receiver, and I do think it wouldn't shock me if Dallas just plays kind of a much smaller role than people are assuming he will. I really did like Ben Hanks as an honorable mention there. I would almost maybe create a new category for Ben Hanks, which would be, I think you could argue that Ben Hanks is the most important freshman. Because I think,
yeah, I like that.
Because I think Florida, if Woods can't make an impact, I think Florida's fine at edge rusher.
Yep.
If Dallas Wilson can't make an impact, I think Florida's probably fine at receiver.
Yep.
Ben Hanks, Florida might be like needing Ben Hanks to play a lot of meaningful snaps this year if they're going to be good in the secondary. Like, if anyone goes down, it might be him as next man up. I mean, or maybe Cormani's ahead of him. We'll see, but like, he's in that mix of the second level corners, and we've seen the injuries Florida's had in the secondary. Like, he might be the one who ends up being like the most freshman X factor,
Yeah, absolutely could be. And Lagonza Hayward, too, I heard he's pretty good ahead of Stubbs, and with the safety room, really having the two starters and Caraway and then the freshman, he could be someone that's put in. Michael Dixon here, 35 points a game. That's what we want to see. And that's how Lagway wins the Heisman here.
Yep.
But next, we're getting on to one that's pretty short in the amount of picks. I mean, a lot of teams would probably do offensive and defensive transfer, but we only took a couple of them. I mean, maybe we could do special teams, but who's going to be the best transfer? I get to go first here. And
go for it.
It's J. Michael Sturdivant. Like,
of course,
you can say Michael Caraway in the safety room, but he's more of a depth piece, and Kofi Asare really isn't going to play either. And the only other real option is the punter, Tommy Doman.
Yeah,
but
I mean, honestly,
not
you
a
could
bad,
make a case.
Not
you
a
can make a case.
Pick.
Yeah,
especially if Sturdivant gets hurt, it's like Doman's the only other starting transfer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's really where you're at right there. But Sturdivant, I've heard really great things about him, his potential. I think his play style going in with DJ Lagway should work really well. Obviously, we need to see Lagway play, but I think it's going to work really well there. But NFL potential type of guy there. So I'm going to go with Sturdivant, and you can pick Sturdivant as well.
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were both going to have the same here, and I wanted to try to zig, but there was like no way to do it while being even like semi-intellectually honest. No one else is going to have nearly the same. Assuming he's healthy, he's going to be like by far the most impactful transfer on the team this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've said this before. I mean, he would be my bet to be Florida's leading receiver this year.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to be the top target in the offense. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I think he's a good player and I'm excited about him, but it's kind of just a by default selection here because Florida took one transfer that we expect to make a major impact, and it's J. Michael Sturdivant.
Absolutely here. So let's get into one a bit more interesting. It was still pretty tough to pick because we have so much returning production, but who are you going with as your surprise player?
Okay, I'm excited for you to hear this one. I'm really curious to hear what your reaction is to this. I'm kind of proud of this. I feel like this was a little bit of a left field one, but I'm proud of it. How about Jamari Lyons?
That was one of the ones I was considering. Yeah. And you know what? I don't want to steal the sunshine. I actually went with Mekhi Barrow.
Nice. So we're both kind of minding the same spot. Yeah, because my logic is like, for as much as we talk about that being the area of weakness, like the one biggest area of concern on the roster, it's not because of like bad play we've seen. It's because of unknowns. So like, what if Jamari Lyons is just good? Like, what if he just comes in and is really good? And I mean,
we've seen him do good stuff in the past.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that to me is like, if you get Jamari Lyons to just be solid, like a guy that's not a weakness, this defense might be really good. Honestly, it might be like really good. If you can get good play from him and healthy in the secondary, look out.
Yeah, I mean, I was right there with you with Mekhi Burrow. I was like, would Lions be as much a surprise as Burrow would be? Maybe because
Hmm.
of the injury to a casual fan, but I went with Burrow because there's so much proven experience in these starting and even the backup lineups. That's like, would you be surprised if LJ McCray went and led the team in sacks? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, but like, it's not a crazy thought. And it's like, Jada Robinson, Aaron Childs at linebacker, the backup corners. It's like, I don't think any of them would be surprises. Like maybe one of the backup offensive linemen, but it's like, who's picking offensive lineman in this situation here?
Yeah. Yeah,
Surprise
I think
player.
I had that issue as well. There's a lot of guys who I think could be like poised for a breakout, but it's hard to call it. It's like LJ was a 5-star recruit. You can't call
Yep.
him a surprise player.
I'll,
Like
I'll say Tank. I'll say Tank Hawkins.
I thought about that too, actually. That
Yeah.
was one of the ones I considered. I think he's just a little too buried to make a major impact there, but
Mhm.
he does have a skill set that no one else in that room really has.
Absolutely. All right. Next, we're gonna get into the highest giraffe pick. I think there's a couple answers we can go to. I'm gonna predict we have different answers, but along the same lines. My first. No, yeah. I'm first here, aren't I?
You're first, yeah.
I'm gonna go Caleb Banks. I
Okay.
think his work in the interior is just something that his athleticism is something that you can't teach,
Hmm.
and the fact that he's learning really well. He has a consistent season here. Like if he's consistent, like he are and plays like how he did at the end of last year, he's gonna be a surefire top 15, top 10-ish pick. I mean, that's how good this guy is in his ceiling and how valuable of a player type he is in the NFL. So I think he does it, and I'm gonna pick him to be our highest draft pick this year.
Yeah, that's all valid. I don't disagree with any of that. He will be a very highly drafted player. I went with Tyreek Sapp here.
That's where I thought you were
Um,
gonna go.
yeah, mostly just and talking about NFL value, like this was really just based on NFL value. He's more of a true edge rusher, and those guys tend to get drafted higher.
Yep.
I think if they're both really good, like if they both are all SEC level players, I think Banks is probably better relative to his position, but I just think because of what Sapp is versus what Banks is, I think it's just a little easier for me to see him being the first of those two guys picked. But
Yeah,
again, we're marginal here. I think we're pretty much on the same page.
I think the next answer could be Austin Barber at tackle because just like
Mhm.
edge rusher, tackles get taken probably the most picked position in the first rounds. I mean, those two right there. But it's tough to pick Slaughter because of being a center and everything. So
He just probably won't be a first round pick, or like if he
yeah,
is, it'll be late 20s, just because that's what center. I mean, when was the last time
there's
a center
32.
went in the top 15?
Top. I don't know if that's ever happened.
That's what I'm saying.
To
Like, is
be
that even
honest.
possible? Does that even happen ever?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's just the problem with Slaughter. Slaughter is the best player relative to his position on the roster. I think that's like pretty obviously clear.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so I'm going Banks. You're going Sap. Next, I kind of wanted to do this one. It's kind of not really a
Mhm.
superlative, but I
Yeah.
want to see. It's such a highly regarded position that I think we both have it highly regarded that the defensive line on who's going to lead the team in sacks. Last year
Mhm.
it was Sap, but I think it's also one of those things where there's so many guys there, and if you just have one person who can clean up a lot of sacks, I mean, they could easily take over. And you're going to go first here. Who do you think
Yeah.
leads the team in sacks?
Yeah, so I kind of went out of my way when doing these to make sure I didn't pick any repeats.
Mhm.
So because of that, I did not want to pick Sap here. I think talent
That's
wise,
fair.
Sap is the best. But I'll go with Gums. I'll go with George Gums. I think that
Yep.
it's not. I think he's pretty close second in terms of talent here. And like with Sap becoming more of a known commodity, I wouldn't surprise me to see him kind of get more of the focus from offensive lines and kind of open
But
the
can
door
you
for
focus him or Banks is going to be right there?
maybe you can't, and maybe you
Yep.
can't. But I think that certainly the side that Sap is rushing from is the side that's going to get the most attention. And I could see that opening the door for Gums to kind of be the guy that scoops
Yep.
in and gets the production. So, I mean, he was only what 5 sacks to Sap's 7 last year. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like there was a huge gap here last year anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Gums is what my initial thought process was. So I think he's gonna be able to clean up. I mean, Banks is gonna be putting so much pressure on the inside, and hey, if Lions step ups as well, I mean, he's gonna get the forcing the quarterback out of the pocket, and Gums hopefully is gonna be right there to clean up those sacks. But since you went Gums, I'll go Sap here. Led the team in sacks last year. Probably the safe bet here. Proven commodity, highly talented player that could easily lead this team in sacks for a second straight season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, he's the best pass rush. Like,
What
if you want to like treat it literally, what it's asking, it's sap. But I
what if it's
wanted to.
Jaden Woods?
I mean, if it's Jaden Woods, then oh boy,
Oh boy, indeed.
they've got something cooking.
Yeah. And what if it's Makai Brown? No, kidding.
I mean, that would just be impressive. if guy who's like currently looking like a backup interior defensive lineman ends up leading the team in sacks, that'd be pretty impressive.
Rob here. I think Gums is overrated. I'm going with the freshman Woods. Hey, I'm just saying Gums had 3 sacks in the scrimmage. Like he's looking really good too, man. So I would not count out that boy Gums just yet. All right, next we're getting into most improved player. So I picked my answer, but then I saw a picture that's like, ooh, do I change it? But I'm not going to change it.
Yeah.
Oh, am I going first here? I am going
Yeah,
first.
you are going first here.
I'm going tight end Hayden Hansen.
Ooh, I actually like that. I like
there's
that.
There's been a trend in these scrimmages to where you're just looking through the notes Nick DeLatorre's been posting, and there's just a random like, hey, Hayden Hansen had a 40-yard catch here, and then next week, oh, Hayden Hansen had a 45-yard catch here. He seems to be getting one big play every single scrimmage, and if that's something that can continue throughout games, and with a better QB play as well with DJ Lagway, I could see Hayden Hansen going and having a nice like 400, 500-yard season here. All the talk about him working on his route running in the offseason, we know how good of a pass blocker he can be. So I think I'm going to go with Hayden Hansen here, but I wonder who your pick is.
Yeah, Hayden Hansen is. I'll just talk about that real quick. I mean, he's like, that's very interesting. I mean, I think we kind of know what he is and what he isn't to an extent, but I mean, there's opportunity here, like especially with Arliss gone and none of these other guys like having really proven a lot so far. It's like there is the opportunity here for him to kind of expand his role. He's been here a long time, so I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. Mine, honestly, there's a little bit of wish casting involved.
Oh,
I'm not
sorry.
sure.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
So someone who's keeps up with this stuff for a long time, they've told me that they think Hayden Hansen is going to be a guy that we're looking at in 10 years and is just on an NFL roster. Like this guy's going to be in the NFL for a long time.
He reminds me, because I know he reminds me a lot of Luke Farrell.
Yeah,
like very just solid. Like he's not going to have a lot of highlight plays or do anything spectacular, but he's good at his job and will stick around. I think that's. I mean, that reminds me a lot. The Jags, Luke Farrell, for you guys. The Jags like second string blocking, like 12 personnel, second tight end. But no, my
guy.
Well, yeah, former Buck. Yeah, the nepotism thing Urban Meyer did that was actually good. Because he drafted him. For mine, there's a bit of wish casting involved. I'm not sure I 100% believe it, but it would just be such a full circle moment for this show that I really want to see it happen.
Is it Castell?
Yeah, it's
Castell.
Yes. I think because look, and I'll say this, I think, for as much as we picked on Castell, and I think it's pretty valid. I think the reasons we picked on him are valid for the most part. But I think we don't pick on him because he's just like a sieve and gets torched every time he's out there.
No.
He's inconsistent, and the talent is there, but he's inconsistent. And I think all it would take is him just cutting down on some of those bad plays, and you'd have I don't expect incredible. I don't think we're getting he's becoming like an all SEC safety this year, but I think
13.
I mean, honestly, maybe something to that effect. I think Jordan Castell, it wouldn't take a lot for him to become a reliable starter this year. He's shown glimpses of being that at times. And I think if he is that, I mean, obviously, health of the corners is important too. But if he is that, I think it changes the way I would view this secondary quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very valid there if they're a Castell. I was wondering if you're going to go Castell or Cormani.
Yeah, I don't like. I still
just
I remain so unconvinced with Cormani, which is funny for a guy who's seems to be putting in the work and is a former 5-star. It's just just let me see it. I just want to see
it. In my chats, I'm one of the people who are lower on Cormani, and it's hey, this guy's gonna be starting, and I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it, and it's I'm hoping he gets there because of that frame and speed and size and everything. It's length that differentiates him, but we need to see it before we can really believe it. But getting on next here, what is the most important game of the season? This is maybe one of the tougher to pick. I have my answer, but I think there's easy ways to describe like 4 other games to being
Yeah.
the most important. And when we get to them with the stakes that could be at question, could even mean more than what they mean right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a Rorschach test. Like there's like at least like I think there's like 3 games really that you could pick depending on what this question means to you.
I think it's like 5.
Maybe. To me there's like 3 that really stand out just
Yeah.
because of where they are and what they mean in the season. I'm going to go and I think I said this even on the show last week when we talked about it, but I'm going with the Texas game. I think
Okay.
like to me the opportunity that presents at home against a team that, like we talked about last week, probably going to be the number 1 team in the country. I mean, if they beat Ohio State week 1, almost certainly will be the number 1 team in the country coming into town. So I think the opportunity that's there to beat a team of that caliber, give the fans a moment in the swamp they haven't had. I mean, conservatively since like the Auburn game in 2019, but like even that, I mean
Utah, I
beating the
feel like the
number 1.
Utah game.
But I'm saying beating number 1
Yeah,
Texas
that's
at home,
different.
like that's another level. That's something that I mean, that's a whole nother level. So I think, and with that game being on the early side of the season, it's such a potential springboard game for how everything else goes down the stretch. It's hard for me to be convinced by any other game. Like that is the game. I'm more excited for that game than I've been for an individual non-season opener Florida football game in a long time.
That's a very valid take. And here, I'm going to kind of explain why I think there's like 5 games. So LSU at night in Death Valley. If you go into win at Death Valley at night, that's going to show that you're there. Like, you're not.
I mean, that's a pivotal. That's a game that could determine the trajectory of the entire season. Yeah.
Like, it's going to be tough to argue that Florida isn't a potential playoff team, especially if they go into Death Valley and win it. And then Miami, I think retaking the state is a huge deal, especially with what they did to us last year where they just embarrassed us. Like you go into Miami and beat them and you just erase all of what the 41-17 that happened back in 2024. It's a huge deal. I think revenge is something that's going to be extremely on the minds of the players. And then you just gave all the reasoning for the Texas game. Like there's so much on the stake there with being at home, maybe the number 1 team. I think A&M is a tougher one to explain. It's at A&M, so probably not that one. But the one I'm going with is Georgia.
Yeah.
You know, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. We haven't won that game, which will be in 5 years now. It's going to be 5 years on the day when we go and play them. And it's our biggest – is it our biggest rival or is FSU our biggest rival? You know,
I come down firmly on the side of it's Georgia.
It's Georgia.
And I think that is a time and place thing for sure. Like, I think like the fans that are a bit older than me that like grew up in the 90s and stuff, I think the fact that a lot of them say FSU, that's totally valid. I grew up in the mid 2000s, like Tebow era. That Georgia game was always like a top 10 matchup. I grew up in Jacksonville, so like I was going to it. Like, just that's more of a personal thing, but for me, it's like Georgia, and it's not even close.
Like it's in my opinion our biggest rival, and you know, beating Georgia now is like when you was beating Alabama under Nick Saban. Like that's the closest there is. It's not that, but like that's the closest there is now. And if you beat Georgia, it's a huge deal for Napier, and it's like the one game to where if we go like 7-5 or 8-4, if he beats Georgia, he's gonna have some fans being like, okay, well he can do it now. Like, you know, maybe give him that another year to go out there and prove himself because he was able to do something that is so tough to do. And beating Kirby Smart in Georgia. And another factor here, I think there's a really good chance we know whether or not Florida's a playoff team after that Georgia game. You know, at Ole Miss, still a tough game, and Tennessee, still a good team. But if you leave that Georgia game with 2 losses, I think there's like very good chance you're making the playoffs. And if with 3 losses, it's like, you know, you still could lose. You're not good enough to be unbeatable by Ole Miss or Tennessee. But if you're leaving that Georgia game with 3 losses, depending on if you beat Georgia or if you lost to Georgia, it's like, hey, if you win out, you're probably going to be in the playoffs with that record. So I think you're looking at our playoff hopes and what it would do for Florida and maybe even do for Florida in recruiting if you're able to go out and beat Georgia in Jacksonville. And
that's totally
the revenge factor from last year where basically our entire team got hurt, it felt like, in that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's all totally fair. Again, yeah, I would say the three, when I said there's three that I think you could argue, it was Texas, Georgia, and LSU.
Yep.
And I think you laid out the reasons for Georgia. LSU, again, like that game is just so pivotal for what happens the rest
Yep.
of the season. So those were the kind of ones I was thinking of. I mean, Georgia, like that's totally valid. I mean, look, we haven't beaten them since 2020. Like that's a level of futility in this rivalry that haven't really seen that from Florida's end in a pretty long time. So 100%, like, getting that win over Kirby would be such a, like, I think that would in some ways make a bigger statement than beating Texas would. But with that being said, I think it being at home, just imagining like
Yep.
what that would do for the fan base, like the way beating Texas would energize the fan base. And again, the fact that I just think Texas is a better team than Georgia. Like I think
That's
Georgia
true.
could walk into Jacksonville with 2 losses. It wouldn't shock me if that's
No.
I don't know what I need to look at their schedule. I don't know. Maybe their schedule
I think
doesn't
they
allow
play
that.
Bama and at Tennessee. Those are like 2
Okay.
games. So
I mean, so I think I think I'd probably pick Bama to beat them right now if I'm being
at
perfectly
Georgia.
honest with you. I think I'd still probably pick Bama to beat them.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. I'm like weirdly high on Alabama, even though I like think they were pretty disappointing last year. I don't like know how I feel about. I don't even. I don't either. I don't feel great about Ty Simpson either. But there's just something about them that I can. Yeah, Ty Thompson was the Tulane guy. Yeah,
both 5 stars.
Yeah. I forget Ty Simpson was a 5-star. He's just been chilling in Alabama for so long. He's the new Garrett Nussmeier. But
well, except
Garrett Nussmeier wasn't a 5-star.
And Nuss was behind a Heisman winner.
That's true.
And Ty was behind Jalen Milroe, who was inconsistent as it can be.
Yeah. I mean, I think in spite of that, though, I just like I'm weirdly optimistic about Bama.
Same.
Like, I just feel like they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where it's like outside of Ty, I'm really high on that Bama team. But you know how a QB could tank or elevate a season. So
yeah,
we'll see. And Jamarian Miller now going to be out. They're hoping he returns by the Georgia game.
Wait, I actually missed that. When did
that happen? It happened like earlier today.
Oh my God, I totally missed that. That's not good.
Yeah, their hope of return is the Georgia game. That doesn't change anything. How I'm.
Is that like week 4? Game. Is that like week 4? The Georgia
week 5.
Game? Week 5.
Our bye week.
Oh, so he's gonna be out like the first month of the year.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious injury.
Okay. Wow.
But and he's been the running back that's been raved about the most for him this offseason. And
dude, he looks huge. I saw a camp picture of him. He looks massive.
Yeah, shout out Tyler, Texas. But where he comes from. But all right, we spent a lot of time talking about the most important game. Let's get into offensive player of the year. So we're keeping, I don't want to spoil our MVP, but we're keeping the MVP different from whoever we pick our offensive or defensive. So if our MVP is on offense, we're not picking him, or if our MVP is on defense, we're not picking him. I'm first here. So for my offensive player of the year, I think I'm going to give you the easier choice. I'm going to go with the more controversial, Jake Slaughter.
Okay.
Offensive lineman. It's like when you look at the NFL and offensive player of the year, it's going to a wide receiver, maybe a running back who was a fantastic year, or just a quarterback who won MVP. But I really I think Jake Slaughter is the best returning offensive lineman in the country. I mean, some other players could develop more and pass them up, possibly like Caden Proctor, but Slaughter's the best returning offensive line, best returning center, without a doubt, in the country. And such a veteran leader. Like, he wasn't even questioning leading for the NFL draft after last season. And a great locker room guy, great player on the field, facing tough competitors. It's like going to keep us from ever bowing out of any games. So I'm going to go Slaughter. And I think I know who you're going to take for this guy, offensive player of the year.
Yeah, you probably do. I mean, Slaughter, we talked about this a little bit off air right before we started. Like, my only thing with picking Slaughter was it's just kind of hard to quantify that when it comes to an offensive lineman. But yeah, I mean, like, in the purest sense of the word, Jake Slaughter is the best player relative to his position on this team, I think. So in that sense, he literally probably is the MVP on offense, or will be. I went with Jaden Baugh here.
Yeah, that was the other option.
I just think, and it's not even like, I don't say this to like be negative on Baugh. It's not even, it just doesn't have even that much to do with him. It's more that I just think he's set to be the beneficiary of the situation he's found himself in this year. I mean, obviously splitting carries a little bit. So, we'll see exactly what that looks like. I kind of still expect he's going to get maybe not like a vast majority of them, but I think a clear majority.
Like a drive or two more, like a drive more, maybe two.
Yeah, something along those lines. So, I'm thinking like maybe like a 65-35 kind of carry split.
Although everything I've heard about Jacoby Jackson, it's really good. Like,
yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think this, I mean, as much as we talk about the passing game and DJ Lagway and is he healthy, is he not? I think this team's identity is still going to be running the football. Yep. I think that's still going to be what we know that's how Billy wants to win games. I think now, finally, really for the first time, he's got the personnel to do it to a really high level, to an elite degree. And I think with what the offensive line is, with injuries at the quarterback position, potentially, I think Baugh is the guy that you're going to see just be the bell cow and be the guy who just leads the offense.
But hey, who is Baugh running behind?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great battery for our picks as the offensive players of the year.
I'm gonna say, Rob, we made. I don't know if you were here, so you may not
put out a disclaimer.
I don't want to spoil anything, but we did put out a disclaimer. We'll get into that later. But your turn to go for defensive player of the year.
Yeah. This was also kind of another one where had to balance. Where do there are two guys you could kind of have here or elsewhere on the list. I went with Caleb Banks here. I think Banks, I feel good about having Sapp as highest draft pick and Banks here as defensive player of the year, because I think Banks is the one who, I do. Because I think Banks
is defensive player of the year. I think he's definitely the highest draft pick.
I don't necessarily, just because I think he's just because interior guys don't go as highly. Like
really good interior guys do though. Like,
yeah, I mean, but Sapp doesn't Sapp have the better first overall pick odds right now?
I'm pretty sure you're remembering that from like before the spring, and that's just been stuck in your head.
It probably is, but like that, but the point being like that, just if Sapp is a top 2 edge rusher and Banks is a top 2 defensive tackle, Sapp will probably go first, is kind of what my logic is there.
Yeah, I have question. I don't think Sapp's going to be a top 2 edge
He might not be. He might not be. But the reason, my kind of logic for Banks is...
And I'm wearing a Sapp jersey right now.
Yeah,
so
well, and I also wanted to make... I did defensive player of the year before
Yeah.
I made my decision for this one before I made my decision for the other one, to be clear. But the defensive player of the year, I have Banks. I think Banks is literally the most valuable player on the entire defense. I think he's the one that if you lose... I don't want to be like melodramatic, but I think losing Caleb Banks would derail everything. Honestly, I mean,
I can see that.
There's talent here on the defensive line, don't get me wrong, but I think having now the entire interior be a question mark and losing just his disruption, just because, I mean, we always talk about like our interior guys disruptive because they don't always produce on the stat sheet. I mean, I think he's even more noticeably disruptive than most good interior defensive linemen are. I just think what Banks does is so important to this defense, and he's the only one I don't think there's a replacement for. Like, again, if something bad happens to Sapp or Gums or whatever, you've got Jaden Woods. If something bad happens at linebacker, you've got depth. If something bad happens to Devin Moore, you hope you've got depth.
Yep.
If something bad happens to Caleb Banks, I don't know what you do. So I think he is the
question
key.
Marks.
I think Banks being healthy is the key to the entire defense.
So I was gonna go with Caleb Banks, but I'll change up my answer here a bit, and I'm gonna go with someone that we haven't talked about at all on this show. Myles Graham, going into his sophomore season, former top 55 recruit. I've heard really great things. I've seen really great things with Myles Graham, and I'm a really big linebacker guy. Really good linebackers are really hard to come by. Like we've had Shamar James was a good linebacker, went in the 5th round, but Jack Kaiser was the highest linebacker taken in the NFL draft at like in the late 2nd round, if I'm not mistaken. If you can get a really good linebacker, which I think Myles Graham with his athleticism, his physicality, his size, his speed could be, that has all the ingredients to be one of those elite type of linebackers. And elite linebackers, I think, can change a game more on defense than almost any other than any other position. Sometimes referred to as the quarterback of the defense. So if not picking Caleb Banks, I'm going to pick Miles Graham, and maybe it's still a little too early to say, but I think his potential is there, and we've seen him play a bit to where we're going to get a good player at least. So I'm going to go Miles Graham there to be a bit of a shock.
Yeah. I mean, I like that pick a lot. I think so. I considered Miles Graham for biggest surprise, but I kind of decided that would be a little bit of a cop out because I don't think him being good would be that surprising. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good pick. I mean, I'm not sure I'm quite there yet with him. Like in terms of just being that individually impactful. I think he'll be good and continue to improve this year, but like, I don't think it would take a lot for him to be that good. I think we saw glimpses of that last year as a true freshman. So like, that's kind of an outside the box pick, kind of some projection involved, but I don't hate it. I think that's certainly like within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now I gotta go first here. I mean, we're gonna have the same player who our MVP is. So Rob, before, if you missed it, we said our offensive or defensive player of the year. Our MVP couldn't also be our offensive or defensive player of the year. So when we didn't pick, neither of us picked DJ Lagway to be our offensive player of the year. It made it pretty easy to find out who our MVP was. And of course, it's going to be Alfonso Allen, Baylor transfer from a couple of years ago. But no, it's going to be DJ Lagway, both from Texas, if that means anything. But no, DJ Lagway. I mean, if this team is a playoff team, this team's a national title contender, it's not only because of Lagway, because the defense also stepped up. But if we didn't have Lagway, we're probably not in that spot. And I think Lagway is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country now. Whether he's that statistically and that takes him to New York, that's a different question. But from his impact on the game to where in those clutch situations where you need a touchdown, you need to get in field goal range, I trust Lagway to get us in those spots. And when you need those deep plays and big plays, I trust Lagway to get those. And I think it's been lost a little bit over the course of the past month because of his injuries. But remember Lagway at media days, our spring media days, SEC media days, and he was saying all the right things. Well, hey, I know how I was last year. I have a lot of fight, but hey, I know I need to improve on my short game and do the easy stuff, do the boring things right. And, he's not getting as much time on the field to improve at that. But I also know a lot of that stuff comes from watching it in the film room and learning of the timings and when to do it. And I think that's something that he's done I'm hoping it's something he's done a really good job of here over the summer and spring and early fall, to where he's going to be ready to do it. And he's going to go out there and hopefully do it at a high level. And maybe he won't statistically be the best quarterback, but when you watch him on the field, it's like, okay, that guy is a difference maker and is someone that you just don't is someone you just don't get every other day.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I have Lagway too. And I think like pound for pound, I don't necessarily think Lagway is going to be the best player on the team. Like, I think there's a couple other players I would maybe argue are more likely to be. But I think in the true sense of what most valuable player literally means, it has to be DJ Lagway. Like, all the positivity, all the hopes, all the optimism, all the thoughts of being a CFP contender, that's all hinging on Lagway playing and being good. Like, God forbid if something happens to Lagway in like week 1 and it's the Aiden Warner show for 11 weeks. I don't even know if this is a bold. like literally, I don't like.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's how. Like, you want to know how valuable DJ Lagway is? He's so valuable that we go from talking about CFP contender to can this team win 6 games? And
that's also a part of our schedule.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, I think we've seen enough of Aiden Warner to know that how much it lowers the ceiling of this team when it's not DJ Lagway in there. And I mean, I have my concern. I've stated it. I think Lagway has areas he needs to improve upon. I think Lagway being kind of, I was about to say MIA. That's not the way to say that because it's not his fault. But being away, not able to participate throughout the offseason, I think that's not great for a guy that still has to grow in some ways and has some
not
new
ideal
receivers.
For sure.
No. So I think there's area, like, I don't expect Lagway to come in and just be this infallible player this year. I think there's going to be growth moments. I think there's going to be ups and downs, but I think ultimately the ceiling, he raises the ceiling so much. He's the only reason there's a sense of optimism in the program right now. So, I mean, it basically has to be him. I'll say this because we've just kind of been in agreement completely in this segment, to make things maybe a little more interesting. If you hadn't given the rule that that had MVP and then offensive or defensive player of the year had to be different guys, I maybe still would have done what I did and given
I'm picking
MVP to
Lagway
for offensive player of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
I genuinely think Baugh might end up with like better numbers for a running back than Lagway ends up with numbers for quarterback. You know what I mean?
I'd be a bit more worried about splitting the carries with Jackson because I think it could be 50-50, honestly.
Maybe I would have to go with like the running backs as a battery, because like I think Florida will have a much more productive rushing offense than a passing offense. That's why I've been kind of bearish on the DJ Heisman case, just because I don't think he's going to be putting up gaudy numbers necessarily, because I don't think he's going to have to.